this decision as to whether to continue to grow sort of organically with your own capital, your own rate of return of investing back in, or bringing in investors to expand more quickly and diluting your equity is one of the most difficult questions that any entrepreneur is going to have to face.
Hey, my name is Brad Draper. I am grateful for the opportunity to submit a video and ask a question. And also, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Our family is forever changed because of you. 2 years ago, I found you. And it was 2 years ago that our trajectory of our life changed. So thank you. But the question I have, I wrote it down so I don't mess it up. So I'm 2 years into product development and starting a company bootstrapped. So my question is, from your point of view, is it more beneficial to continue from the path of growth through profitability or find investors, giving equity, and potentially moving at a faster rate through increased capital and resources? Thanks again.
So Brad, hey, thanks for the kind words and your question. You've asked a question that I get asked an awful lot by the entrepreneurs that I coach, which is really scaling your business and growing it. And so this decision as to whether to continue to grow sort of organically with your own capital, your own rate of return of investing back in, or bringing in investors to expand more quickly and diluting your equity is one of the most difficult questions that any entrepreneur is going to have to face. And so first thing I would tell you is that because I'm not involved in the day-to-day profitability of your business, some of this will be a little bit more general in nature. And by the way, it'll benefit all the other listeners and viewers as well. As a general rule of thumb, I want to give away equity only if I have to. Every single time you give away equity to somebody, you've diluted both your wealth accumulation opportunities, but you've also diluted to some extent over time, even if it doesn't feel like it, your influence and your impact and your control. And so for me as an entrepreneur, I only want to give up control, I only want to give up capital, I only want to give up influence if I absolutely have to. And so I would say that only if the only other path to growing is to get equity, to give equity away, is when I would do that. And so I always encourage entrepreneurs to hold on to their equity, to hold on to their business as long as they can until they can't. And that point should become very obvious for you. So it's when your demand, if internally you've got a demand that is built up that you can no longer service based on your current size, scale, the amount of people that work for you, your inventory, what it might be. And so what I don't like to do is to begin to give away equity or to take on debt, so to speak, as a method to grow. But when there's a necessity to grow, and you know that if you brought in an equity partner, and by the way, someone like myself, or really savvy people that are going to get involved in a business, they're going to want to see that you've produced a great number already anyway. And so too often I think entrepreneurs think, I'm going to bring in capital, I'm going to sell parts of my business before it's really valuable. I'm not suggesting you're saying that. It sounds like you've been very successful. So it's a really, really difficult question. My question to you would be, and my suggestion to you would be, is that are you outgrowing your capacity already? That there's this demand that you can see on the horizon if you brought in more capital or people with more access to other people, that are potential buyers of your product or your service or your company, then that's something that we evaluate. But that brings in a whole other set of issues. What's the valuation? How much equity do you have to give away? How much capital are you going to get? Are you going to give away, a little percentage of the company? You're going to have to give away more of it. And so that's, once you make a decision that you're going to bring in investors, you're going to bring in capital, it sets up a whole other set of distractions, valuations, the books, projected growth. And typically an investor like myself is going to want to get a return on their money. And so I'm going to try to get more equity from you than what the capital I'm giving you would justify. That's business. And so I'm not suggesting that you don't bring in investors. I'm not suggesting you don't expand. What I'm suggesting is there should be a need to do it. And too often entrepreneurs don't have that need. They just think they've watched enough Shark Tank TV shows where everything's about giving away equity, everything's about bringing in investors. The next thing I would say to you is that if you're going to bring somebody in, I try to get dual hit partners, meaning for me, if I'm an investor in a business, I don't just like to bring capital to the table. I'd like to think that I bring other resources, that I have a value add, meaning I've got a relationship in that industry, or I can bring potential buyers of the product. In other words, I bring a value add in addition to my capital. That's the businesses that I like to invest in. So if I'm giving away equity, I'm not just looking for money. I'm looking for value add business partners if I'm going to go that route. In other words, what are their connections? Why do people like Shark Tank? Because these Sharks also bring their connections and relationships or distribution, right? And to the extent that you watch the show, the people that they think are the most connected are the ones they usually hope is their partner. And so success leaves clues. Successful people who have given up equity in their businesses typically do it strategically, not just for the capital, but also for the value add that particular partner or group can bring their way. So if you're going to make that decision that you're going to give equity away, all right, and that's a decision that then comes with a whole other set of issues, like I've talked about, valuations, all those other things, then I'd be very scrutinizing, not just with everybody with a dollar, not just with everybody with an idea, but can they give you a value add? Is there a double whammy, is what I call it, that not only am I getting their capital, but I'm either getting their expertise, their ingenuity, their experience, their connections, right? Their relationships, their potential buyers. That is something that I think is a very lost point on most entrepreneurs because they're so desperate just to get the capital in their pocket. So remember, you're going to lose control at some point, at least to some extent. People, no, I'm only giving away 20% on the controlling interest. Once you bring in somebody to a business that they have an interest in, you're going to start answering to them at some point. You say, no, only passive angel type investors. Trust me, I still want answers. I still want to know what's going on. I'm still going to question you. And so you lose independence every time you bring in somebody. That's not necessarily a negative thing. And then the valuation, you're probably valuing your business right now earlier than what it'll be worth in 5 or 10 years. There's been all kinds of people that have been on my show. You can think of the people that founded Netflix or the It Cosmetics with Jamie Kern-Lima. You're going to find out that, very often one of the great blessings of their lives is they were looking for investors and didn't get them. And when they didn't get them, they became more resourceful and grew internally, and they kept their equity, and their payoff later was much bigger. That doesn't mean there aren't lots of successful partnerships and equity plays. And so my recommendation to you is guard it with everything you've got. If you're going to make that decision to do it, be very careful with your valuation. And then if you're going to give away equity, give away as little as you can. And if you're going to do that, I would only give it to somebody who brings a value add in addition to their capital. Hope that helps you, Brad. God bless you. Max out. Hey guys, thanks for sticking around. If you'd like more, click the videos right here. They're exactly what you need to see next. And if you're new here, hit subscribe and become a part of the Max Out community. And tell me what you think about the videos in the comments below. I read all of them every week, and I select winners that get all kinds of prizes, gear, coaching calls with me. Make a comment.